Alright YouTubers, how you diddling? This is the Dispose List, and this video will be the first in a series of noob guides. I think Battlefield 1 is probably the easiest in the series to get into, but even so, there's a lot of mechanics and details underlying that you just don't appreciate until you've played for quite some time. So the idea of these guides is to shortcut that process for you, point out things you might have missed, and help you be better players. So, where do we begin? Perhaps confusingly, the first thing I'm going to do is redirect you elsewhere. The reason being, there is some official basic information available. I wouldn't be surprised if you'd missed it. You can see here there's a little watch section, but this is mostly containing stuff to keep you up to date. This mostly is stuff to do with the latest downloadable content. They shall not pass, and a couple of cool videos. So what we're after is more basic information for you noobs out there. And it is available. If we go to the official website, under here, it's kind of marketing material really, rather than tutorials, but there is some good information there. And it shouldn't take too long to watch. But hidden in amongst this marketing material, you'll find bootcamp videos, so-called. It was a good idea. What they did was have some of the YouTubers, well-known YouTubers, produce short tutorial videos introducing you to some of the basic concepts, and it is a good place to start.
Hello, ladies and gents.
I
Jack
recommend
Price
watching
here.
them, and of course, because they're
Either
YouTube
that they
based,
can start ordering you around.
it will give you links to their YouTube channels, and off you go with a plethora of available information that you can get lost in. But as I say, these basic videos are worth watching as a start to get you kicked off. But what I'm going to do is delve a bit deeper, or perhaps a bit sideways, or just point out what I think from all of my video watching and game playing, what the most important underlying mechanics and core details are. Right, you've watched a couple of videos perhaps, and you're keen to start actually playing the game. I don't blame you, but I'd recommend the single player campaign to begin with if you're new to this. It serves actually as a good tutorial. I mean, it's a good game in itself. Cinematography is great, the story is great, but it serves as a good tutorial for the gunplay and the vehicles without having 32 players trying to kill you while you're doing it. But you're going to want to get into the multiplayer soon enough. I know you're going to want to kill your friends. It's the most fun to be had in this game. I don't know why they have operations front and center. It's one of the new game modes, and the games can go on quite long, and it's a little more complex than most. I'm just going to show you in the quick match. It has a list of all the game modes, and the important thing here is there's a little video for each one.
Drawing on all aspects of the Great War, Conquest provides scale and all the machines, weapons and beasts you need to defeat the enemy and conquer the land.
You get the idea. I'm not going to play them all. They are a useful intro to each game mode. But just briefly, I'll say Conquest is the place I would start while you're learning. It has the best variety to learn from. There's generally tanks, planes, infantry all over the place, objectives based, capture and hold the flag stuff. But maybe the least pressure, if I just say Domination is like a small version of Conquest, so it's more intense, a bit more pressure. Operations is like a longer, slightly more complex version. Rush is like a more intense, with slightly different objectives version. Team Deathmatch might not be a bad place to go when you're learning, but it's infantry only, and you'll just be learning the gunplay there. It'd be a good place for trying out new weapons, for learning the gunplay, because there are no objectives apart from killing the enemy team. And War Pigeons is a little bit like Deathmatch, but with the single objective of getting a pigeon and putting the message on its leg and letting it go without the other team killing you or it. So my recommendation is Conquest. Just briefly, you can see They Shall Not Pass, the new downloadable content, has a game mode called Frontlines, which is again a sort of a combination game mode, a little bit more complex than the others. I wouldn't recommend that to begin with. Conquest is the way to go when you're learning. Okay, so let's start a multiplayer game. I'm going to jump in and talk you through what we see as we see it. I'm choosing a quick match because I think that's probably best when you're learning. One thing it does is hopefully drop you in at the very beginning of the game, maybe even as the teams are still forming, and it just gives you a bit more time to get your head sorted. If it were to throw you into the middle of a game and established combat, that's just a bit more confusing. You can see the other thing it was doing as this little list of tick boxes there is matching your skill, hopefully matching you against the team, against the game, to make sure you're in an appropriately skilled team. I'm not sure how well that works, but it's certainly better than not even trying. The first thing you're going to see when you get into the game is the squad selection screen. This is new to Battlefield 1, but all the Battlefield series, well, the last few in the Battlefield series, have differentiated themselves from other first-person shooters because of the squads. The idea of squad-based and team-based tactics is pretty pivotal to the game now, or should be if you're doing it right. So this is a squad selection screen. You can create your own squad. You cannot create a squad, but I wouldn't recommend it. You're missing out if you're not playing in a squad. And you can see the makeup of the existing squads, though that will change over the game, so don't worry too much about it. Harry squad, you can see there, has a space, so I'm going to join Harry squad. One thing you could have seen here, some of them might have had a couple of chevrons next to the squad and next to a person in the squad if they had a double XP bonus running. Oop, Freddy's just become available as well, but we won't worry about that. I'm just going to join Freddy and get into the game. So what we're looking at now is known as the spawn screen, and actually this hasn't dropped us into the beginning of a game. You can see we're pretty well into the game, over 800 points against 600 and something, and one side even has the behemoth. But it's still going to be useful for me talking through what to do next. And because this team's winning, I'm not going to worry too much about hurrying either. I won't feel bad. So, what you might be tempted to do now is just pick a flag and jump in, or pick one of your squad mates you can do as they are spawn points and leap straight in. But I'm just going to talk through what you should be thinking at this point and just maybe slow that process down a little bit. Put a little bit more thought into it. So, as I say, you can spawn on flags that your team holds, not these flags that the enemies hold, obviously. There's the uncappable, the uncap base back here. That's always available. It's not cappable, it's the other team can't take it. But it's a long way back from the action. You can see there's a cavalry unit available. You can spawn as that cavalry. There's a tank unit available here. That's another spawn spot at this flag, but as a tanker. And you can also see these symbols here. This one indicates, I believe, that an armoured car is sometimes available. It's not always available. I wish this appeared the same as these and told you when it was there, but they don't. You might well spawn there and that armoured car's not there. And these icons are indicating that a motorcycle or a jeep could be available at F. They might not be, but they could be if you wanted transport. And here, handily, for my example, a tank has appeared. Friendly vehicles already on the map. Generally, if they've got a seat free, you can spawn there too. You can leap into that seat and then just jump out the tank or stay in the tank. Or jeep, or armoured car, or motorcycle. Or aeroplane. Bombers have 3 seats. And attack planes too, so you can leap into an aeroplane and then parachute to where you want to be. So, those are your spawning options, but now, where do you spawn and why? You can see on the map here, you can quite often see the enemy. You can obviously see where which flags have been taken, but you can quite often, if they're spotted, and I believe if a vehicle or a stationary weapon, like this one here, that's a field gun, if they're firing, I believe they briefly appear on the minimap also, on the spawn map, sorry, also. So what this is doing is it's giving you an indicator of what combat is going on in the game before you choose to spawn. Obviously I'd choose a lot quicker than I am doing, but I'm talking it through. But all this information is useful to knowing where to spawn and whether to spawn and what class to spawn as. So our tank here is making a run along this left flank, but it's going to come up against a field gun and another tank. It might be useful to me to jump in as a support player with a repair tool and support him in that way. If he gets damaged, leap out of the tank and repair him from the outside. Or it may be useful for me to spawn in as an assault guy, an anti-tank guy, leap out of the tank and provide rocket gun attack, or if I'm close enough, throw anti-tank grenades to help him take out this tank. Another option.
We have lost objective Duff.
F's been taken and my squad is going in. It's always best to help your squad. My squad's going in, but they're obviously meeting some resistance. These skulls and crossbones are dead team members appearing, which means there must be enemy there killing them. So there's quite some resistance being met. If I were to spawn on a squad mate there, I briefly check my squad.
We have taken objective Duff.
Are assault players and a cavalry. No, he's over there and he's died. They are assault players, so what might be good is if I spawned in as a medic to support their efforts to take F.
We have lost objective Edward.
Or maybe we can't see the enemy. Someone briefly appeared, but we can't see the enemy, so it might be useful for me to spawn in as a scout and use my flare guns to help spot the enemy, to help them clear them out from that flag. So what I'm just doing here is talking through what should go through in your mind when you're thinking about where to spawn. Don't just leap in wildly. Have a think about what's happening at the various available spawn locations you can see, and what class you need to help out, and what loadout that class needs to help out best in that situation. For me, this says this is a basic fundamental thing about Battlefield 1. Perhaps in previous Battlefield games you could just spawn in as your favourite class and you could make a difference, you could be helpful. They were a bit more multi-utility maybe. In Battlefield 1 the classes are very much specific purpose. They very much have a specific purpose. They have gadgets to assist in that specific purpose, and they're interdependent to a greater extent than in previous Battlefield games. So when you're choosing your spawn point and your class and your loadout of that class, try and make it appropriate to the situation you're about to encounter. Well, I'm going to stop there, having just spoken about spawning and started to talk about classes and their loadouts. I think that needs some more detail, so in the next video I'm going to talk about classes and loadouts. Thanks very much for listening, YouTubers. See you next time. Please leave me a thumbs up if you liked the video, of course. Please leave me a thumbs down if you didn't, though I'd prefer you didn't. Leave me a thumbs down, and please do leave suggestions or comments. I'm new to this lark, so any comments or suggestions, especially if you make your own videos, is very well welcomed. Thank you very much. Goodbye.